Okay, so we're not in trouble?
I don't think so. Milchick said we're famous.
All of us equally, or one of us is like the star?
We love to see those elevator moments when you switch from your real world Outie to your work Innie. Adam, how do you make that switch believable?
Well, figuring out that switch was a long, really fun process during season 1. Ben had this little elevator set with a camera rig connected to it. It's a Zolly connected to a kind of mini elevator set. And he would have it kind of off to the side wherever we were working. And whenever we had time, we would go and try it out a few times. And we were just trying to find what this process would look like of changing from one to the other. And it took a while and a bunch of trial and error till we settled on what it ended up being. I think Ben had the idea of kind of rolling your eyes back a little bit, and whatever it was, we finally landed on it. And it was a really great tool for me to kind of go from the Innie to the Outie in a hurry. And that really helped kind of distill down what each one was, because we were sometimes jumping around and filming Innie and Outie in no particular order.
It's a very technical moment that happens very quickly, and we do a fair amount of takes of those. So, I think it helped all of us to kind of differentiate in a split second the difference between the Innie and the Outie in a physical way. And it's also, it's very technical. So the camera crew we're all timing it together.
I just watch what Britt does and try and do it. It's about making sure the transition moment happens at the right time in the dance. So it's like a dance. It really is like a dance, that moment.
Do you remember what you were looking for in those early shots, or what direction you were giving?
Yeah, there was like the technical aspect of it, of trying to figure out some sort of visual change, which that Zolly thing does, sort of gives you sort of like a sense of changing the perspective. But really it comes down to Adam's change in his demeanor, his physicality, which is separate. Innie's physicality, the Outie's physicality, very different, and things that he worked on from the very beginning. And I really give Adam the credit on just being able to roll his eyelids into the back, his eyeballs in the back of his head, because I can't do that.
Adam Scott, who I don't know how he's able to do that with his eyes. Like, I've tried to do it. I try to film myself doing it, and I look not nearly as cool as he does doing it.
It usually takes us, because of the timing of the shot, it takes usually I'd say 11 or 12 or 13 takes to get it right. Yeah. And Adam does it every time, and it's really amazing for me to watch. And of course, it's the specific scene of where his Outie has just been, or where his Innie has just been, that Adam's always working with too, or any of the actors when they do that transition. So it's a very specific and different thing every time.
The way I originally envisioned it, the pilot, was that we would never follow the characters through the elevator, that we would just stick with them in their subjective reality, where they start to go up and then suddenly they're coming back down. And we ended up deciding that it made more sense in some cases to follow them. But in season 2, we have times where we spend more time in the subjective reality with the characters, and I think that's fun to do too. It's just a different way to show and tell the story.
What the hell was that?
Your co-star, John Turturro, suggested you for this role. How did he rope you in? What was his pitch?
Well, I think the nature of the relationship of Burt and Irving translates very nicely to the facts of life about me and John. It's rare to meet a sophisticate. I've known John for, 40 plus years. We were young actors together in New York, and he's written, produced, directed his own movies, and I've been in 2 or 3 of them. And I know his family, and we're old friends. And the fact of that played very well with Burt and Irving, and you can see that Burt and Irving like each other, and it translates to me and John. It gives it kind of a foundation. It's beautiful. It could be just for us. A secret place.
John, what's the key to unlocking the Innie romance between Burt and Irving?
I think, some of it has to do with my real life relationship with Chris and knowing him such a long time. And and also how it's been set up with all the obstacles, that they're older and they have this gigantic, connection. It's a combination of all of those things. But knew that it would be essential to have the right partner when I talked to Dan and Ben, and I suggested, well, why don't we ask Chris? Because I love Chris and I've worked with him so many times and I have so much fun with him. And when you have fun with the person, you can go in a lot of different directions. And especially when you have a history with them. That's not true all the time. It's hard when you do these kind of relationships in a movie. And a lot of times you don't feel it when I see it. And when I do notice it, I always go, what happened between those people? Like something, and so I knew that was very possible.
You see two people like married people, you can tell that they've been together a long time. They laugh at each other's jokes. They finish each other's sentences. It's just obvious. And I think that anybody who sees me and John together knows that we've known each other a long time.
That was John's idea to bring in Chris. And, when he first brought it up, I had to sort of play it cool and be like, oh, yeah, Christopher Walken. I could see that. Yeah, he'd be good. And then I went into the bathroom and freaked out a little bit.
It's good to hear that, we had the same reaction to finding out that we were going to be in any way in the same orbit as Christopher Walken. So
yeah.
Much appreciated there.
You got to take a second and just breathe once you learn something like that.
Yeah.
But they have this long friendship. They've worked together for many, many years on different projects. And so they just brought this organic chemistry to it. And you could tell that these are two actors that really do care about each other and know each other well. And so it was beautiful. And when we wrote the retirement of Burt toward the end of season 1, we weren't sure that he was gonna come back and that we were ever gonna see him again on the Innie or the Outie side. And it wasn't until we saw John and Chris together and really were able to fall in love with them as they fell in love with each other that we just thought we have to see more. And of course, the Outie world provided a great opportunity for that.
So Miss Cobel may be one of the most insidious characters we've seen you play.
If you want a hug, go to hell and find your mother.
What was the key to unlocking her stoic menace?
That was part of what was confusing about the beginning when we were shooting, what the tone was gonna be. Because in a way, there's something film noir-y about that. That unknown, what is this person thinking? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they dangerous? What are they? And then there were comedic elements, and then there was sci-fi stuff. So I was really kind of confused, and I asked Ben, and he cut some stuff together to kind of show me so I understood the tone, which is a fusion of all these things. The structure of this corporation, which is like a hybrid between a corporation and a religion, has indoctrinated her so much. We serve here, you child! And she does have alternate agendas going on. And she does need people to behave a certain way. And there are rules in this structure if people don't behave a certain way, and things she experienced when she was an underling if she didn't behave a certain way. So there's just a lot of layers going on about these things in her head, and she doesn't, like a poker player, doesn't like too much of a tell. Yeah. But she utilizes emotions also to manipulate. There's nothing more dangerous than a person who feigns themselves as the innocent victim, but who's really manipulating, deceiving, and pathologically lying. Yeah, and that's a common trait with manipulators. I'm not feeling quite myself this evening.
Oh no, I get it. I mean, it's not a funeral. So.
Season 2, it opens with an existential thrill ride as Mark is sprinting through the Lumen halls in what seems like this one shot that keeps changing perspective. What was that like on the script, and how did Ben bring that to the screen?
Season 1, we have Mark walking through the halls in the first episode. This time he's running like crazy. My hope is that season 3, he'll be on a slip and slide, and we'll just follow him that whole way.
And we were just looking for a way to kick off the season with a bang and this excitement of okay, he's just learned this incredible thing, and what would he do? And Adam and I talked, and Adam was like, I'd run to go find Miss Casey. So, that's what kicked it off. And then it was just trying to envision how can we make something that maybe is a little bit of a, kind of a reference to the first season when we first see him walking through the halls, but he's walking, and this time he's running full speed. And, we visualized it and figured out how we could do it. And it was a collaboration between Jessica Lee Gagne, our cinematographer, and Jeremy Hindle, our production designer, and our camera crew, and our editorial, and our visual effects people. And it was a really fun project that actually played out over about 5 or 6 months when we'd get these different pieces, depending on where we were in the shoot, because each one took a different tool. And I remember at the end of it, we kind of all celebrated and had like a little rap moment of finishing that shot.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Marcus.
That was wild to shoot. We used certain tricks to make it work, but it was a little bit terrifying to me because a lot of it was practical. You literally had this camera on this arm that's whipping around Adam Scott's head like this, and we had a lot of people there to make sure we were doing it safely. But it was still like, I'm sitting there like, clenched up on my chair a little bit, like, oh God, what's about to happen? But fortunately, Adam was okay.
I'm fine.
If you had to think back at season 1, is there a particular scene that your Innie should be known for?
The defining moment for the work family is the music dance experience. It goes from this thing that we are all kind of delighted by. The disco lights were new to us as both actors and as the Innies. They were kind of experiencing this almost like junior high dance. And then the scene just turns and we realize our friend is not having that great of a time. It becomes this tackle and this bite, and then you see the 4 MDR Innies in this kind of embrace at the end of that scene, and you see them come to an alliance there. So that was a meaningful scene for me. I felt like our relationships became very clear and what we were willing to do for one another.
We can do this.
I would agree. I think it's a two-pronged for me. It was that, and then when they let Chris go and he finds out, and confronts Mr. Milchek and stuff. And it was kind of like a rebellion and a death almost, at the same time.
Let's burn this place to the ground.
We've heard that for most of your roles, you like to ask for a scene to show off your dancing skills. Will Burt cut a rug in season 2?
No, I don't remember cutting a rug in season 2. But I don't know, where it goes past that. But if it does happen, chances are I will cut a rug.
Yeah. I've always wanted to ask you, what do you think dancing reveals about the characters you play? I mean, does it help you with your performance or to connect to the role?
No, it's just over the years, maybe because I was a dancer, I have often just thrown it in, and they use it or they leave it on the cutting room floor. But I've done that just kind of for fun, and it's ended up in a lot of movies. I think maybe I've done it too often, so I have to stop.
I mean, it's a good trademark to have, I think.
It is. It's kind of a stamp.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that career. I mean, you have over 140 acting credits on IMDb. If someone wasn't familiar with you, do you have a title you suggest someone watches first?
No, I've had an interesting career. It's, I do some good stuff, then I do some not so good stuff, and you just have to take your pick.
But do you have certain roles that you'd like to be known for?
Well, I'd like to be remembered for the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they can kind of forget me for the not good stuff.
If there's something to be known for, the Emperor of the Known Universe is a pretty good one.
Exactly, the Emperor of the Universe.
Yeah.
That guy must have a lot of money.
Is that the appeal to it?
That's the first thing I thought. Boy, he's got a bunch of money.
I love that.